Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Tuesday, February 20th, presented by Boston Hemp Inc., Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith, and we'll have our Tuesday guest, Matt Robinson, with us shortly as well, ready to break down the Tuesday NHL card. 8 games tonight in the NHL, and for those of you that are a Patreon member, and actually if you've been checking out the Ice Guys Twitter, mine as well, Alex's as well, you know this now, it is a Patreon exclusive Betcast game day. That's right, this is the day. Our next Patreon exclusive Betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We're excited about it. And this is going to be, if it's anything like Thursday, man, hopefully it is, because that was a hugely profitable Betcast. We are very much looking forward to tonight. So that's 7 p.m. Eastern time, Patreon exclusive Betcast, available only to Patreon members. So again, make sure you sign up. If you're not a Patreon member already, you are not going to want to miss out on this second Patreon exclusive live Betcast tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's a really good slate. It's not quite next Tuesday's slate, but it's a pretty good one. You know, yeah. Stars and Rangers is a good game. Of course, Avs and Canucks, say no more about how good of a game that is. We've got important points on the line tonight. Minnesota Winnipeg's an interesting game. Islanders and Penguins, almost like a loser really is behind the 8 ball as far as the playoffs are concerned type of game. So it is a very intriguing slate, and we will be on the air for our exclusive Patreon Betcast tonight during at 7 p.m. Eastern. And again, if you're a Patreon member, you leave your name and your email address in the comments section below where I posted that YouTube link, and we will make sure we get the StreamYard link for the Betcast sent out to you. So we're very much looking forward to that tonight. Patreon exclusive Betcast, our second one, Alex, here in the month of February.
Yeah, like I said, hopefully we can try and duplicate what we had on the last Betcast a few days ago. And like I said, it's a great slate. And, the more reps we get, the better we get with this. And it's none better than Thursday for sure. But, it's going to be hard to duplicate, but it's not entirely impossible. And you said, you're saying that recently, said, well, it's probably not going to happen again. Can't say never, because it did happen once. So we're going to try our best to, get some winners here tonight, and it should be a lot of fun as always. So definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yesterday was a huge day of hockey on this holiday Monday. It was President's Day in the States, and it was a combination, depending on what province you lived in Canada, of Heritage Day, Family Day, Louis Riel Day, I believe in some places as well. So there's some kind of holiday in the majority of Canada. Not every province, believe it or not. There were a couple that still had to work, did not have a holiday yesterday, but the majority did. And as a result, there were a lot of day games and a huge slate of afternoon hockey yesterday. And when you look back on it, we'll do that briefly here on this the Monday slate yesterday. Pretty crazy, some of these games. Anaheim with a great start to the day for me. I know Matt joined in on the Anaheim fun as well, as the Ducks beat the Sabres 4-3 yesterday. So we had a team total and the money line split with Anaheim coming off that shellacking against Toronto. Thought it was a pretty good situation to back Anaheim yesterday against a Buffalo team that, as we know, we can't trust them off a win. That's number one. And number two, we can't trust them laying minus 190. And we saw that clear as day in that loss to the Anaheim Ducks on Monday. So definitely interesting to see if Buffalo can bounce back from that. It's been the kind of season it's been for them, up and down, up and down. Gibson was phenomenal, by the way. Buffalo didn't really play that bad, but John Gibson was immense, especially with Anaheim protecting that lead late. Toronto with a 4-2 win against St. Louis. Very workmanlike effort on the road from the Leafs. Solid effort. Matthews scores again. What else is new? That's now 49 goals for him. How much you want to bet he's going to get number 50 tonight back home in Arizona when they play the Arizona Coyotes tomorrow night? Probably a damn good chance of that. So he scored. Matthew Nye's got a nice goal for Toronto. He's also going back to Arizona tomorrow night, so we'll have a lot of good props to maybe sink our teeth into tomorrow night in that Leafs-Coyotes game. But Toronto with a nice win, 4-2. Samsonov continues his bounce-back campaign and his bounce-back run after that rough go. Boston with a 4-3 win against Dallas. I'll tell you what, though, Dallas, full marks for them yesterday. Depleted, shorthanded, no Miro Heiskanen for personal reasons. Duchesne a late scratch. Definitely depleted. Hakanpää already out on the blue line for them as well. And yet they outplayed the Bruins and deserved the 2 points. Let's be real, they did. They had over 40 shots on goal. Swayman was good. They couldn't finish on some of their chances. And then it goes to a shootout. And by the way, there was a post hit by Harley in overtime as well. I mean, that close it was for Dallas, but you can't fault the effort. It was a terrific effort given the situation. And unfortunately, they get beaten in a marathon shootout by the Boston Bruins. That shootout wasn't going to fucking end, it felt like. But finally, the Bruins put it away with a 4-3 shootout win. Much needed. I mean, they needed a win in a worse way. This homestand's been, kind of a disaster when you think about it for the Bruins. So for them to pull it out, even when they got outplayed 4-3 over Dallas, great to see. I don't know if that was the Vancouver Canucks versus the Minnesota Wild or the BC Lions versus the Minnesota Vikings yesterday, but that was 10-7, touchdown and a field goal for the Wild, and a touchdown with the extra point for the Canucks. That was a batshit crazy third period. And really, I think it was a rare sign of panic in Vancouver. They had gotten these 5-on-3 penalties assessed against them repeatedly yesterday. And then the puck is starting to go in left and right. And it's almost like there was panic in that team. And it's like, what the hell's just happened? I think they were shell-shocked like the entire hockey world that was tuning into that shit show of a hockey game. And I think that kind of built and snowballed into what happened to the Canucks. I don't think it's a sign where we need to panic and say, uh-oh, is this a sign of bad things to come? It's concerning. It's not what you want to see. Rick Tocchet said at the end of the game that, hey, we can't take that many penalties, and it's a growing issue for Vancouver, the amount of penalties they've taken in recent games. But it's still not what you want to see. It was not a good day either for DeSmith. They need a save at some point, too, and he was off his game, you could tell as well, for the Canucks. But credit to Minnesota. That was a brutal loss for them against Buffalo. Brutal. That you have 2 points in your back pocket and you lose that game in overtime. So to bounce back, beat a really good team like Vancouver, try to keep those playoff hopes alive. Very important 2 points for Minnesota, and a rather stunning 2 points based on how it turned out, how that game played out. 10-7, 3 hat-tricks in the same game. I could not believe it. That is not something you see every day. 3 hat-tricks by 3 different players in the same hockey game. 4-3 Detroit beats Seattle. Again, the home game off a road trip spot continues to be problematic. Seattle fell into that yesterday. The draw cashes in that game, which was good to see. How about a nice sweep? Get the curling reference out. Hard, real hard, sweep. The Vegas Golden Knights, 4-0 against San Jose. Team totals over in the first period. Full game team total. Puck line in the first period. All hitting for me with that Vegas bounce back win against the San Jose Sharks, which was great to see. Another one, sweep, Edmonton, Arizona. Every bet there in that game. Arizona, both teams to score first period. First period over, full game over with that Edmonton, Arizona game. And by the way, we got a nice little group DM chat going on Twitter X. I think the majority of us jumped on Edmonton to come back and win that game going into the third period as well. And we ended up coming through with that as Edmonton ended up erasing a 3-2 deficit and winning that game 6-3 against Arizona. Tough spot for our Matt Villalta in his first NHL start. We talked about that yesterday. I know he's had a nice season in the NHL, and he's maybe capable of being okay at this level, but you're going to put him in there against that Edmonton team in his first start. Good luck. And it was a tough spot to put him in, and Edmonton obviously had their way in the third period en route to a 6-3 win over Arizona. John Massey nailed it with this Calgary team. He said they'd watch them show up today against Winnipeg, although it didn't look good early. Sean Monahan with a natural freaking hat trick in the first period for the Winnipeg Jets, staking them to a 3-1 lead, and yet that was all she wrote for Winnipeg. They didn't score again after Monahan's hattie in the first. 5 unanswered for Calgary, and they roar past Winnipeg 6-3 yesterday afternoon. Not a great game with defensively from the Jets, just way too lax defensively, loose in their coverage. Hellebuck maybe not necessarily at his best either, but credit to Calgary. They bounced back after 2 home losses to the Sharks and the Red Wings with a 6-3 win against Winnipeg. Carolina 6-3 against Chicago. Sometimes the best laid plans don't work out, and my little shot with Chicago did not. It was a 6-3. Carolina continues to impress. They are motoring on, and what a titanic clash that's going to be on Thursday night with the Panthers and the Hurricanes in a rematch of the Eastern Conference Final. That's going to be some kind of game coming up on Thursday night. Great win for Carolina. How about the little vitriol and the little animosity and the little back and forth there with Connor Bedard and Spencer Martin? You wouldn't have expected something like that in that game, but a little feisty. I like that. Bedard's got to show this league now in his first year, because people are going to take liberties with him. He's going to have a target on his back because he's so talented, so skilled. You can't take shit from anybody. You just can't. And you can't show people that you're going to take shit from anybody. And so I like that he had a little pushback there. Don't take it. You got to show that, hey, I'm going to push back. I'm a competitive bastard too, just like you, and I'm going to show it. And he did, and I have no problem with that. I have no problem with Spencer Martin reacting the way he did, and I have no problem with Connor Bedard reacting the way he did in that game. And last but not least, this is the game that took me from having a monster day of profits to just a small day of profits. Tampa Bay let me down. He let all of us down. They let the whole freaking NHL betting sphere down, because I think everybody and his brother loved the Lightning in some form last night, and they lose 4-2 to the Ottawa Senators. Look, they look slow. They lost puck battles, and after they swarmed Ottawa early, they were up 6-1 in shots in like the first 3 minutes, and then they went basically halfway through the game. They got 2 shots since from that time. Just absolutely pathetic by the Lightning. And look, when you look at it, they did look slow. Hedman didn't have a great game. This blue line really is pathetic right now without Sergachev. Outside of Hedman, there's issues galore with this Tampa defense. You can forecheck this team to death right now with success. Ottawa was able to do that. Too many odd man rushes given up by Ottawa as well. And look, Vasilevsky, 1, maybe 2 of those goals that went in. Vasilevsky, when he's at his A+ form, he doesn't let those in. He doesn't. So he's not absolved of blame either for what we saw from Tampa Bay last night in that game. So very disheartening, and that's a bad sign for Tampa. I'm sorry. When you get trucked, all right, 9-2 by the Florida Panthers at home, and you've got a home game the very next game against an inferior opponent, and you could barely muster a thrust of offense for 40 minutes against that team that struggled all year to keep the puck out of their own net, that's a problem, and that's a worry moving forward if I'm the Tampa Bay Lightning there, again, not what they used to be. Alex, thoughts on a massive Monday slate?
Yeah, a lot of good stuff and a lot of things to cover. Let's start with Tampa Bay, because I was kind of talking about that in chat. So people asking what they've done. And I said, yeah, this team looks to be in really bad shape now. When you combine the whole body of work, right, what they went through at the beginning of the year, having the injury, obviously, with Vasilevsky, weathering that storm enough to where Vasilevsky can come back, look good early. But now all of a sudden you've got breakdowns with him. You're having breakdowns in defense. You're having the offense being kind of up and down at times. His defensive roles are really the biggest problem of them all. And obviously we saw the biggest of unraveling with that Florida-Tampa game, which, okay, blowouts, you try to just throw them out of your mind frame and move forward from that one particular contest. It's just a glowing sign of errors and issues right now. And when you look at other teams that have been playing well, and like I said, we talk about the massive body of work by the core guys of this Tampa group, the players that matter the most, the Vasilevskys, the Points, the Kucherovs, the Stamkoses, they get worn down a little bit more. If they don't show up, those secondary guys don't show up, this is just a below average or terrible hockey team at times. And I don't think they're going to be able to weather the storm. I think eventually they fall out of favor and miss the playoffs. I said that in October, before October, when I made the bet they would miss the postseason. And things are just kind of coming to fruition in a weirder than no expected way. I thought this team was just going to be bad all year and have a few spurts of being good, not really kind of treading even into the mediocre and middle range for the most of the season. So their colors are finally showing at this point right now, and I think Tampa's in some serious trouble. They can't make changes enough between now and the deadline because they're cap strong. They won't be able to make a whole lot of changes next year unless they start trading off some big pieces, and then now it looks like a rebuild. So they're in really bad shape, and I don't know how long it's going to take for them to get out of that. Dallas and Boston, incredible game. Just unfortunate to lose it on the way that you lost that with for us who had Dallas on the money line. But just a fun contest to start the day. And, you want to see that good back and forth kind of a battle. Two teams that really, needed the win, at least got 1 point out of it. And that's how draw season works. Two teams needing points, at least in their own respective efforts. They get one, and they battle hard for that second one. And we saw a great shootout wrap things up there. The Hawks game, the only thing really to talk about is that what you mentioned with Spencer Martin and Connor Bedard going at it, and I like that. That's good to see. Bedard, stepping up, he's the face of the franchise. He may not be the leader right now, but he's still the face of the franchise, and he's got to step up and show that he's not going to take shit from anybody. Spencer Martin pointing at the scoreboard, and good for him. He's got that highlight now of him chirping with Bedard. So 10 years from now, when we forget who Spencer Martin is, he can always go back to his friends and family and go, oh, yeah, this thing happened with Connor Bedard, who's well on his way to possibly being a Hall of Famer, down by that time. So, give yourself some highlight time. I understand it. So, Carolina with the win. Hawks still need to get a bunch of shit together. Probably need to fire some coaches because this whole lack of offense thing is just egregious. I don't care how good of a bad team you are. Arizona and San Jose can put together some offense on a given night. Hawks can't do jack shit unless it is 98 handling everything. So that's a huge problem on the west side. We'll go with the Wild and Canucks game. Absolute pandemonium. 17 goals, 3 hat tricks. I can't imagine the kids who were at that game, maybe it's for the first or second time seeing a hockey game. That's not how it always goes, but at least you got to see an absolute classic. 3 hat tricks in the contest. Casey DeSmith just the defense just completely looking invisible for a 6-minute span, giving up 5 goals. Like, it's absolutely brutal. I don't care if it's a track meet. You can't have that stretch of hockey happen at any point, at any time, no matter what the pace of the game is. That's just really bad. And 4 of 6 on the power play. The team has now given up 6 power play goals in the last 2 games. They're taking tons of penalties. That's the problem, number one, right? Don't care who you are. You can't be taking this many penalties. But if you do take this many penalties, you should probably be working on having a better penalty kill setup, working better defensively, clearing pucks out. They're not doing that right now. If we go back to the beginning of the year and we talk about Vancouver, none of us thought Vancouver would be the best team in the West or the best team in the league. But we said that this team could be decent, but one of the problems would more than likely end up being on the back end with things led by defense and the defensive coach that leads this team being Mr. Mike Yeo. So now, just want to always point this out every time this team has some defensive struggles. As we get closer to the second half of the season, and we talk about the X factors of what we love about this team. They have a goalie who can steal you a series and steal you games, and that's your Demko. They have tons of offensive talent. They have some talented blue liners. They have a good backup goalie as well in Casey Smith. But when you look at X's and O's, Rick Tocchet probably won't get out-coached by a lot of guys, but Mike Yeo could get out-coached by the 3 of us and most of the coaches in the National Hockey League. So that could be a problem later on for this team when they're trying to make their run through the Western Conference.
And let's not forget, not only does Mike Yeo manage a lot of the defense and the penalty kill on that Canucks team, he was hired as a Canucks assistant when Boudreau was there. And that was when that team was just an absolute disaster area defensively. Pathetic. Remember early last year before the change was made, how brutal they were. The penalty kill was so bad. It's like you might as well put an automatic goal on the board for the other team because they're going to score. That's how bad it was for Vancouver's penalty kill. And I had just memories and bad memories of that coming back yesterday watching that Minnesota game where they just couldn't kill a penalty to save their lives. Vancouver yesterday. And Mike Yeo has been at the forefront of that. So there you go. Alex's choice for coach of the decade, coach of the millennium here, Mike Yeo, up to his old tricks again yesterday for the Vancouver Canucks. But that's interesting that Tocchet kept him around. I was surprised by that. Like I really like most of that. I like Foote. I like Gonchar. Those additions to that staff. But I was a little surprised that Mike Yeo was retained from the Boudreau staff by Rick Tocchet.
I totally agree with Rich H. He clearly has some powerful connections or some powerful information on somebody to stick around and have a job in this league. Because the only thing that he's really ever done that was of credit was winning a Calder Cup with Houston 20 years ago in a playoff where I'm pretty sure they were down like 2 of the 5 series and had to come back in order to win that. So his resume is not impressive. He clearly is one of these guys that just gets recycled for whatever reason.
Recycled coach. We've seen that millions of times before in this league. No question about that. Matt Robinson, we hope his job interview went well. That's why he was a few minutes late. But Matt, your thoughts on what we saw yesterday? It was certainly quite the busy slate of games.
Yeah, busy slate. And I kind of love the holidays where it feels almost like a Saturday 9:30 start time for the first game for me, all the way to the late games were 4 o'clock. So full day of slate. Had a good day myself. The only 3 misses I had I had Thomas Harley anytime goal scorer, which that post could have,
In overtime.
been a nice hit there. I had the Stars money line plus 115. Obviously, that would have resolved that as well. And then I was on Maple Leafs Blues over 6.5, which obviously got to 6 late. Bad beat there, but yeah, had some good live plays. I live bet the Blackhawks Hurricanes over 5 after the first period. That obviously went way over. I had a couple first period overs in the Stars game. I had over 5.5 and over 6 because the line moved. It actually moved down right before the game to 5.5, which I thought was odd given the Stars lineup changes. I mean, they were playing an AHL pair of D that did have some good experience in the NHL, but yeah, obviously, that was my focal point of the morning games, what I was watching. I thought Dallas played outstanding. You mentioned it. I think they deserved to win that game. They had more than enough chances, though, in overtime, as well as the shootout. Being the team that was shooting second, they had like 5 different times to close it and let Boston back in. But, those games are going to happen. Both goalies played lights out. Even though it was a 4-3 into the game, I mean, you can't blame either goalie for that game. Ton of chances on the ice. But yeah, so looking forward to tonight. There's a good slate on, as well as obviously the betcast tonight for the Patreon members. So hoping to have the same luck as we had last Thursday. I had a lot of great hits before the game, and then we also had some great hits during the slate of games as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we sure did, Maddie. It was a great Thursday night last night, that betcast with the profits, and the results were absolutely scintillating. So again, that is tonight at 7:00 p.m. Don't you dare miss it. I will put it up on the screen one more time here. There it is. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, $10 per month, exclusive betcast tonight, 7:00 p.m. Eastern time, and it is a great slate of Tuesday night games and a lot of great opportunities that we should have from a live betting standpoint on the betcast tonight. So again, to watch the betcast and also to join us on the betcast, the only way to do it is becoming a Patreon member. So if you aren't one already, sign up, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. All right, before we get into the Tuesday card, I want to talk about and actually show something that's been pretty viral on hockey Twitter the last 12 to 24 hours. I'm sure a lot of people wondered what he's been doing, where he's been. He's someone that's been in broadcasting a long time. Obviously, the legendary voice of the NHL on ESPN for years, and did a lot of Baltimore Orioles baseball for a long period of time. Yet somehow, some way, they said, we're parting ways with him. The Orioles did a few years ago. I can't fathom why they did that, even though the young kid that's taken over is pretty good. Kevin Brown, who was in that controversy last year with the Orioles. But yeah, I mean, following Gary Thorne is not easy. And then, of course, Gary Thorne not included in the second tour of duty, if you will, with the NHL on ESPN. Now, what I read about it was that they just figured Gary's in his 70s, and he is 75. He's not a young guy, Gary Thorne, that they said, what, if we were to bring back, they did consider it. It's not like they completely said, oh, we're not even bothering with it, but they've said, what, we're going to have this package for a long time. We're going to have the rights for many years. We don't want to commit, to Gary for a long-term contract when he's already of the age he is. I get that, but man, you couldn't have maybe shortened some kind of maybe 2, 3, 4-year deal with Gary and then reevaluate where things are at that point, give him a shot to do some games on ESPN, because people wondering what's Gary Thorne up to these days. Not doing hockey since ESPN got it back. He's not doing baseball anymore. He is apparently doing play-by-play for high school hockey. And a clip was posted yesterday with Gary Thorne on the call. And it just happened that this particular high school hockey game that the great Gary, and I mean great, the great Gary Thorne called yesterday was actually involving his grandson. He was playing in the game as well. So this clip ended up getting a lot of attention. People, just excited to hear that great voice, those great golden pipes of Gary Thorne that we remember from back in the day. So we'll play it for you right now. And I'm telling you what, just in this one little clip you'll see here and here, he sounds as good as ever. He sounds like you could put him in a booth tonight to do Canucks Avalanche, and he'd be ready to go, and he would give you a fucking great call of the game. So here is the great Gary Thorne calling high school hockey. Here we go.
The zone is slipped ahead. Julian got it up Mahar. Mahar looking to center it. Did. Score! To Julian out in front! Goal number 2 of the game! And it's a go-ahead goal! 5-4!
How about that? How about hearing that great voice again? Absolutely. I loved it. And everybody, if you read all the replies to that Gary Thorne audio clip and video clip, it's everyone saying we miss him. How could ESPN not bring him back? And man, it is if you grew up with hockey in the 90s and early 2000s when ESPN last had the rights, Gary Thorne and Bill Clement, my goodness, and some of the iconic calls he made, regular season, playoffs, Stanley Cup final, it didn't matter. Man, it was so great to hear that voice again yesterday, Alex. And actually, it was Alex's tweet where I first saw it, realized that had been posted. So great to hear the great voice of Gary Thorne again.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's a cool moment, especially for those young players. I mean, honestly, to have that highlight as Gary Thorne calling one of your goals in a high school game, that's absolutely cool. I'm sure there's some people on the team who may not even remembered when Thorne obviously or may have not even heard any of his calls from back in the day, obviously. But like I said, for those who actually do remember, that's a really cool moment. And then at the same time, it's infuriating. As a Hawks fan who has listened to Chris Foster's every night, for Bruins fans who have to listen to Jack Edwards deal with whatever health issue he has going on every night, for San Jose Sharks fans who listen to the annoying voice of Randy Hahn every night, that there's somebody as talented as Gary Thorne around and he does not have a job with an NHL team. That is just absolutely baffling to me. Like I said, even if ESPN couldn't have hired all these outdoor games and these winter classics and different things, to have him for those, have him for certain playoff games, the Stanley Cup final. I mean, you didn't have to be on every game, but to have that voice, especially for certain top tier moments, the same thing, they wheel out Chris Berman once every 4 months, 5 months. There's no reason why ESPN couldn't have given Thorne a handful of games, but it is cool, like I said, had that moment with those kids and the fact that he's still calling games in some capacity. That's a good thing to hear.
Matt, do you have any memories of Gary Thorne, or was that just were you a little too young at that time? Like with Gary Thorne, what are your memories of him?
Yeah, I think I was a little too young. At that time, I was pretty much just watching local Stars games on regular cable, so didn't catch a lot of other announcers at that time. So
yeah, we're old geezers, Alex and I, compared to Matt here. Although it's not a huge gap. I think Matt's at least in his 31, right, Matt?
Yeah, I turned 31 in December. So
okay, yeah. So you just 3 years behind me then.
Yeah, but didn't watch many because remember back in the day, it's not as easy to watch all the hockey you can today as well. So keep that in mind. Yeah. There's no question. So you're right. Probably didn't get a chance to see. I want to play the one more because John Massey mentioned it. This is one of not only Gary's great, maybe I think it is Gary Thorne's greatest hockey call. It's one of the greatest calls of all time in sports. I don't care if you hate hockey. There is no way you can't say to me that this isn't one of the greatest calls of all time. The way he did it. It was Korea getting knocked out by Stevens, Devils Ducks final, Stanley Cup final 2002. Everyone thought he's done, Korea. Done for the game, maybe done for the series. And he got plastered in that game, and he couldn't move. He had to be helped off the ice. But he comes back later in the same game after Stevens popped him, and he scores a huge goal for Anaheim. And the iconic, and I mean iconic call from Gary Thorne of that moment puts hairs on, has your hair standing on end. That is how incredible it was. So this is 2002. Like I said, for Gary Thorne, I think it's not only his greatest call, it's one of the greatest calls in sports. Here it is.
Near side, Korea, the fans want one.
Off the floor,
Legend.
on the board, Paul Korea. Nailed it. You can't make a better call than that. No, not possible.
And in that spot too, we're talking about Game 6 of the 2003 Stanley Cup Final, and obviously nowadays a guy takes a hit like that, there's no way in the world he's coming back into the game. But for him to not only be able to come back into the game physically, be clear enough to skate and play, but to be in that spot and get that goal and to go ahead and end up forcing that Game 7, that was a credible series. And that call, that play, the hit that led up to it, all just makes it monumental, legendary moments and things that you just don't have in this game anymore. As great as the game is now, don't get me wrong, I do love, obviously we've seen some of the most talent and skill that we've ever seen in the National Hockey League, but there was some specialty in those days, and like I said, calls like that, hits like that, plays like that, what made this game so great.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just I've seen that highlight and heard that call like 200 times. I'm BSing. I probably have heard it like 200 times. That's how much I enjoy it. And like off the floor on the board, as in off the ice, crumpled in a heap after the hit, and then scoring later in the same game. Off the floor on the board. It's got a beautiful ring to it as well. It just rolls off the tongue. Off the floor on the board. Paul, like it's all spontaneous. He's talked about that call. He didn't know. First of all, how's Gary Thorne, Bill Clement, or John Davidson, who's also in the booth that night, how are they going to know Paul Kariya is coming back into that hockey game when that hit happened? Nobody thought that. He was seeing stars when he got crushed in open ice by Scott Stevens in that hockey game. How is he going to know ahead of time that Kariya is coming back, let alone score a goal? Not only come back into the game, but score a goal. There is no way he had pre-planned that call. That was all spontaneous, spur of the moment, right off the top of his head. He came up with that one when the goal went in. Just incredible. So shout out and salute to the great Gary Thorne. And look, if this is all he's going to be doing in the later years of his life, high school hockey, good on him. I'm glad that he's still calling hockey in some capacity. No question about that. All right, let's get into the Tuesday card. We've got the New Jersey Devils taking on the Washington Capitals. New Jersey minus 170, road favorites, 6.5 the total here in this game. You look at this matchup, obviously the Devils, they've got a nice little, run going, a little bit of confidence, a little pep in their step that they have put together during this 3 wins in 4 games. They beat Seattle, they beat Nashville, they have the loss to LA where they didn't really play that great, but they bounced back in the Stadium Series on Saturday night with a 6-3 win over the Philadelphia Flyers. They'll look to keep that rolling here against a Washington team that has been, as we've talked about, struggling quite a bit, 2-8 in their last 10 games. But they are coming off a win on Saturday against Montreal, 4-3 win over the Canadiens. Going to be a lot more tough tonight here against this New Jersey Devils team. Now, I do want to mention that this has been a, weirdly enough, road-dominated series history, especially this season. You think about the fact that in New Jersey, the Capitals actually beat the Devils twice, 6-4 and 4-2. But the previous meeting in Washington, which was early in January, it was a 6-3 New Jersey victory. So this has definitely been a road type of series history between these two teams where the road team has really controlled things. Nico Daws has really been good lately. He's almost, to the point now where he's kind of taken over the net. It hasn't been confirmed that he's in net, but I would be surprised if it's not Nico Daws, especially because Vanacek, I believe, still out and unavailable for this Devils team. Yeah, lower body injury. So it's going to be Nico Daws again. He's played well. Charlie Lindgren will get the start for Washington. He has not played well as of late for them, and we have talked about that quite a bit. Against the Avalanche, the last time he started, he gave up 4 goals. He has given up at least 3 goals for this Washington team in 5 straight starts. So kind of trending in a wrong direction, right? Actually, 5 of the last 6. He did shut out Boston, but as we've talked about a lot, that Boston game, put an asterisk next to that Charlie Lindgren shutout. A broomstick could have shut out the Boston Bruins that day because Boston didn't even show up for that game against the Capitals. So I don't trust him here. I don't trust the Washington defense. They've been struggling of late. The penalty kill has been bad too. They've given up a power play goal in 7 of their last 8 games. That's not necessarily something you want to see. I do like New Jersey. What I'm going to do is I'm going to split it up here with New Jersey regulation and team total for the New Jersey Devils here, which you can get at plus over 3.5 at like even money, plus 100, which I do think is a really good look here as far as asking New Jersey to get 4 right now against this Capitals team that, again, has been really struggling to keep the puck out of the net. They had given up 6 to Colorado. Saw them give up 4 to Florida in a loss, 5 to the Montreal Canadiens the first time they played them, 5 to Matt's Dallas Stars, 6 to Colorado, 5 to Minnesota. You catch my point. They have not been able to keep the puck out of the net. So I'm going to do a split here. Devs reg, Devs team total over 3.5 plus 100. What do you like here, Alex? Devils, Capitals.
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody talking about the series has not gone to a draw yet, and these two teams normally usually kind of play a little tighter, but we've seen increase in scoring, and I'm not actually looking to draw here. I like this first period over a lot more, and I like a little bit of the full game over. So, of course, it's a betcast night. I'm going to go half and half on the plays now and add a little bit more in game. So, first period over 1.5. That's minus $1.40. We're looking for anything $1.10 or plus money in game. 6.5 right now at minus $1.10. You can grab that with the full game over, and we'll try and grab plus $1.10 or more in game on that. Just sticking with those two totals and try to grab some more things in game later tonight.
Yeah, there's a weird little same game parlay that I'm doing with another of the games on the slate tonight, and I'll mention it later. But I would actually consider something similar in this game. I haven't bet that, but in this game, it's a team total same game parlay that I'm doing with the a game later on in this card. You can maybe even look in that direction here, because I could see this being one of those games where you can take New Jersey team total over 3.5. You can also take Washington team total under 3.5. Put it in a same game parlay. It pays plus 150. That's not bad. Dawes is playing well. Dawes is like keeping teams to 3 or less right now. And that's what would so that makes sense to me. That's not bad. They're looking at maybe Devils over 3.5, Capitals under 3.5. Same game parlay in that game. I like that one quite a bit. Actually, that makes sense to me. You could even be a little safer. Go with under 3.5 Capitals over 2.5 Devils plus 100. Still a pretty good price. So those are nice little same game parlay team totals that I dabble in those a little bit as well. Now you can, again, over 3.5 Devils with Capitals under 3.5 is plus 150. Devils over 2.5 with Capitals under 3.5 is plus 100. Still a pretty good price there. What do you think there in this one, Matt? New Jersey and Washington.
Yeah, so I put in the chat, I've only got one bet pregame, and then both of you guys had me add an extra bet on that I'm going to take pregame. So I loved from the get-go New Jersey over 3.5 team total. I think it's almost too obvious that that's what worries me. Like, I feel like they should have no problem putting 4 in on the Capitals right now. But I also do like New Jersey in regulation. Obviously don't want to lay the minus 170 on New Jersey, but you take them in regulation. I don't see this being a real close battle. It could be one of those 5-2 type games, something like that. And then I do like the first period over that Alex mentioned. I feel like a lot of first period overs hit yesterday. I don't know if it was the holiday or what was going on, but I think almost every game hit in the first period. There were a lot of 2-1, 3-1 games even. And so with it being a betcast night, I'm probably going to take a little on New Jersey, Washington first period over. And then if we can get better odds live, I may double down on it. I know I have a couple other games I'm thinking about doing that as well. But yeah, as far as the game, I lean way New Jersey, but not at minus 170. So I think New Jersey over 3.5. I've seen it as bad as minus 110, but like you mentioned, it's plus 100 on some sites. So especially if you get that plus money, I feel like that's a really great bet.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And like I say, this is for player props in this game tonight. Like we've talked about how Ovechkin started to percolate a little bit, but mostly for New Jersey, I'm looking at it's got to start right now with Nico Hischier and Tyler Toffoli for the New Jersey Devils. Both of these guys are on fire right now. I'm not saying this doesn't mean Jack Hughes can't contribute. Doesn't mean I don't think, some of the depth forwards can't contribute for the Devils, but right now, the red-hot commodities pulling this offense are the captain, Nico Hischier, and Tyler Toffoli. They've both been on fire here since the All-Star break, especially the last few games. So either props with both of those guys make a lot of sense here for me in this game tonight as well. Maybe with a little honorable mention, Dawson Mercer as well, who I think is someone that you might want to consider here for the Devils here as far as player props are concerned. All right, we move on to Ottawa and Florida. This is back-to-back in the state of Florida here for the Ottawa Senators after a nice win for them last night against Tampa Bay. Florida minus 270. Home favorites, 6.5 being the total in this game. As far as this one goes, Florida, you know what I'm doing with Florida, and that is not betting against them. Doesn't mean I'm on them every game, but I am not going against the Florida Panthers at this point in time. 5 straight wins, 9-1 in their last 10 games. They just continue to put the pedal to the metal. A 9-2 thrashing over the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is an interesting game because for Florida, it's a bit of a sandwich spot for as well as they're playing right now. The big win against Tampa, blowing them out, and then they play Carolina in an East Final rematch Thursday night, and they got this game nestled right in between. Is this a game where they play down? The problem is they haven't played down very much at all, in recent games. They just have not. So I'm not sure. Yeah, Ottawa in a potential letdown spot is enough for me to get me to Ottawa. In fact, it's not. It's a back-to-back still. It's likely going to be Jonas Korpisalo in net after we saw Anton Forsberg collect the win last night, who played pretty well, actually. I think Forsberg was pretty solid last night in that game against the Lightning from what I saw. It's not been nearly as good lately for Korpisalo. He's given up 8 goals in his last 2 starts, 3+ in 3 straight starts, 3.41 goals against, 887 save percentage on the year, 13-18 record. So that's trouble here against a Florida team that's playing well. This is the game I talked about a moment ago, where I like the same game parlay team total approach here in this game with the Senators the Panthers over 3.5, but the Senators under 3.5. Because the one thing we're seeing from Florida right now is they're not giving up anything. Their defense is on point. They are clinical. They are surgical right now. It's shutting teams down. They are on like this Edmonton type of streak, where they have given up 2 goals or less now to the opponent in 10 straight games, the Florida Panthers. So they have been on point defensively. Sergei Bobrovsky's been absolutely terrific during this stretch as well. So I think the fact that you can get a Florida team total over 3.5 parlayed together with a Senators team total under 3.5, and you can get the price on that is, let me take a look here, plus 105. I like that. I think that's a good look tonight. Ottawa over the 3.5 with Florida. Sorry, I'm screwing this up. Florida over 3.5 with Ottawa under 3.5 here in this game at plus 105. That's a really nice price. And if you bet that, the over 3.5 on Florida, the under 3.5 on Ottawa, 4-1 gets you paid, 4-2 gets you paid, hell, 4-3. Which might happen because Ottawa did have a nice offensive night last night against Tampa. 4-3 would get you paid as well, because you've got obviously under 3.5, not 2.5 here with Ottawa. So that's basically kind of the approach I like. I would lean to the over for the full game. There is a concern for me with this spot, with this inferior opponent in between Tampa and Carolina divisional games. Maybe Florida's a little lax defensively, so maybe sprinkle on over 6.5 as well with the Senators and the Panthers tonight. So I probably will have a bet on that as well. But the primary bet here for me is that SGP with Florida over 3.5, parlayed with Ottawa under 3.5, and you can get that at plus 105. Alex, what do you think here? Senators, Panthers?
Yeah, I'm going to keep this one light and brief. This will be more of something I'll look for in game. I kind of like both teams to score first period at plus 152. It is a little bit of a sandwich spot for Florida, so maybe they come out a bit flat early and then they kind of wake up and, throw the counterpunch back at Ottawa. But I can see Ottawa riding some momentum from this last game and kind of playing well early. So both teams to score plus 152 in the first period, and then maybe we'll look for something for full game or first period over. Maybe a couple of minutes in the play, we see the pace kind of maybe start a little bit slower than we expect. We can make some adjustments.
No doubt. Both teams to score first period, I could see that. Ottawa's on another one of these second period overheaters like Dallas, too. If you go by the great Chris Otto totals charts, my goodness, the second period overs with Ottawa have been on fire lately. And we know Dallas now after yesterday, what is that now? 12-0 for them with the second period over.
13-0 now.
13-0 now, exactly. 13-0 with the Stars' second period over. So this is another game where second period over is worth a look. Even if you get the 2 goals in the first period, you still could look in the second period over just because it's been so strong lately for Ottawa. And obviously it goes without saying, Dallas, 13 straight have gone over in the second period for them. Now, again, this is over 1.5 in the period. And we know that a lot of times you're going to see 2.5 or a heavily juiced 1.5 going into the period on these totals. So your options are you could either lay the big price with the 1.5, or you could find a book like I have at 365 where it's over 1.5 and 2 split. It splits it between over 1.5 and over 2. And I had that for both the Leafs and the Blues and the Stars and the Bruins yesterday in the second period. And that helps you cut the juice down. Or you could bet the over 2.5, take a shot, you get 3 goals at plus money, or you can just wait 5 minutes into the period, hope you don't get goals first few minutes, and then get the 1.5 at a better price. So keep in mind, this is for over 1.5 going into the period. It's very heavily juiced, but there's options. You can lay the big number on the 1.5. You can go over 1.5, over 2 split like I normally do, or get over 2.5 at a plus price pre-period, or wait to take a chance there's no goals early in the period and then get a better price at 1.5.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I kind of, I think we've talked about this and we never really got it done, but we have, at least I'll probably post this, a primer for how I use Chris Otto's charts, because I don't always necessarily just go bet pregame, second period overs, third period overs. Like I said, you're usually seeing higher prices and you don't always get those 1.5s. I use that information as more of a reference to make live wagers. If I see a streak like that, then I know that to counter on, okay, we get higher scoring on this from this team in the second period or the third period. And then you react and use, like I said, you can bet different things like both teams to score second period is something that I like to do a lot, especially when you see a scoreless first period, as well, a period with a lot of pace, but only one team gets a goal early or late in that first period. So I just kind of use it more as frame of reference to set up something in the second period, not necessarily just playing straight on with that second period over at a 1.5, laying that big of a price. If you can do that. There's many ways to utilize information, but I like to kind of use that as a stepping stone. So we'll talk about a couple of games where I'll be circling things related to the second period, and it's because of those trends that are provided by Chris Otto. We're very thankful for Chris providing that information.
Yeah, it is. It's unbelievable, that chart. Not only does he give you like the team totals, but or the totals by period, but you're also getting the streaks. He'll list the streaks. Who's on the first period over streaks, the second period over streaks, the third period over streaks. There's even a couple that are on a second period under streak right now that I see currently. But right now, yes, Ottawa is now 13-2, second period over their last 15. And as we mentioned now, Dallas 13 straight second period over, which is why great. That's another option. Rocco Rogers, parlay the two. There you go. Pre-game. And there are books that will post first period, second period, third period totals before the game. And Rocco is that's another option. Parlay the two. Over 1.5 second period, Ottawa, Florida. Over 1.5 second period, New York Rangers, Dallas, and get it at plus money. That's excellent. Yep. Great approach, no question. Matt, what do you think here? Ottawa, Florida. Oh, you're muted.
Matt, you muted.
Yeah, sorry. I'm always interested in the Tkachuk brothers going head-to-head. I think it'll be a fun game to watch. I'm not betting against Florida right now, even though Ottawa, played well yesterday. Really the only thing pregame is I'm going to take the first period over at 2. It's plus 110 on Bovada. And then also look for a live over 1.5 once the game hits, maybe get some good odds. But yeah, that's really, I think there's going to be goals early. I don't hate the over at 6.5. I'm just kind of hoping we get a couple minutes go by without a goal, and then maybe that drops to 6. And then I really like that over. So this is one majority of my bets will be live on the show tonight. The one prop I do like, and on the site that I use, it's hit in 9 of the last 10 is a Matthew Tkachuk anytime assist or over half a assist. It's like minus 120, minus 140 depending on the book. And I mean it's hit in 9 of the last 10. He's playing his brother. Why not have that continue? So that'll probably be a prop I throw in before the game. But yeah, really everything else I'll be looking for live.
So wait, Matt, you say you like over 2 in the first period. You like that because of price and not just not trying to get laid 160 with the over 1.5, or you like a lot of goals both ways in this for early.
So I kind of, because you mentioned both teams to score, which I do like. But yeah, I kind of go back.
That's a guaranteed push if you're on over 2 if both teams score. In the
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're being, so for at the point of limiting risk, and you can hit 2-0 on one side, you're just trying to kind of play a little more safer with the number. Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. And I would still take it at minus 1.5 at the minus 160, 165.
Yeah, but at that point, you'd wait live. And
the value's going to be less there. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's a good strategy, because I've done that before too. If I'm getting, because sometimes you'll see over under 1.5, 165, bordering on 170. And this was kind of more, say, 3 years ago, where you saw sometimes up to 200 on a 1.5. You would see twos pop up, but then they weren't plus money. They would be even money or laying $1.05. And then that just negated the purpose. You might as well at that point now start betting 2.5 and grabbing plus value. But now when you see 1.5 from anywhere between minus 150 to 170, and you get a 2 that starts at plus 105 or higher, I can even see it Ontario book a plus 120. Then it makes sense to grab 2 at that number to have that as cushion, and then work backward rather than putting a small amount laying 160. You know what I'm saying? On the 1.5, you're looking for the 1.5 regardless. You can now give yourself option to lay as much as 150 on 1.5 and possibly get profit on both. So just kind of just talking strategy out with everybody, because it's something to look for, especially when we talk about live betting on a podcast night. So
yeah, and it's with it at plus 110, plus 120, you mentioned, it's nice too if there is that goal in 30 seconds, like 30 seconds into the game, you've kind of got a good spot and you're feeling good about, potentially more than 2 goals happening. So so yeah, it kind of gives you that back burner. If there's not a goal in the first couple of minutes, then you can get 1.5 at a good price.
Yeah,
if there is a goal in the first 30 seconds, like there was yesterday. Yeah. So cool.
Yeah, great discussion. And Rocco saying it. Yeah, the parlays like this for the last 2 seasons. More books are opening up these markets with the period totals betting pregame. That is, used to only be able to do this. Bet Rivers and MGM, but DraftKings now. And that's the thing that's changed since I got into this business, Alex, too, is that back when I first started with the NHL, I mean, I put my whole position on a single game, on a full game money line and a full game total, and that's it. That would be it. But now what I'm doing is I'm divvying things up, splitting things up in the same game with all these different types of bets. And instead of half a unit on just the full game money line or the full game total, we're going to go 0.1 unit on this, 0.1 unit on this, 0.1 unit on this. And 0.5 units altogether, but 0.1 units each on all these different type of ways to approach things. Like for me in this game, little on the SGPs I was talking about with the team totals, little on maybe the both teams to score in the first period in this game. Maybe wait for a better live number. Look what I did with Edmonton, Arizona yesterday, where we split it up. A little first period, both teams to score, a little first period over, a little full game over 6.5. The Vegas game, little first period team total, full game team total. Puck line first period, rather than just one bet on Vegas puck line or and full game total or anything like that. Split it up, multiple positions, but smaller units per wager on the same game. That's what I've been doing more than I've ever done it before this season in the NHL, and it's great.
Yeah. It really is. And I talked about it when, we started the whole first period over. Boom. It started right here on this program, and back in that postseason of 2017. And what led to the Canucks from even looking at that prop was college football. That was the run of Alabama in the first half, basically cashing every week. And when you started breaking things down in sections, and we did that in football forever, we've done that in baseball with first 5 innings. We just never really thought of doing that in hockey. And once these numbers, they've been around forever. They've been posting these numbers for 30, 40 years. Nobody ever thought about betting on it. I've literally had bookmakers and veteran gamblers say, I've always seen that and never thought about looking at it until the explosion happened. And now everybody's starting to, look at these derivatives. And of course, daily fantasy has a lot to do with that too. Structuring the way how we literally change and watch how we watch a game. And so that's how we've been able to kind of just build upon some of these ideas and find some of these more, profitable and creative wages.
Yeah, I agree. I think that definitely something to keep in mind for sure is just the way it's changed. It's not just like 10 years ago. You want to bet an NHL game and you have a position. Yeah, full game money line, full game total. There are your options right there. And now there's just so many different ways to approach it. And that's why I like the multiple bets in the same game approach, but smaller units per bet. And there's been so many great situations and, positive expectation results I've had doing that. Speaking of positive expectation results, Dallas deserved more of a positive expectation result yesterday against the Boston Bruins, because given the situation and the shorthanded nature of that team, to play that well and not get the 2 points, that's unfortunate. They were better than Boston. They outplayed Boston and unfortunately losing a shootout. They're back in action, back-to-back on this road trip in the Big Apple against the New York Rangers. The Rangers minus 140, home favorites. The total is not 5.5. I'd be all over the over if it was that. So that's a misprint. It's 6.5, the total here in this game. I still favor goals here. It's just this is another one of those games where I'm probably, again, going with a little bit of everything here. Maybe a little first period over, both teams to score first period, full game over, a little bit on all three, and leaving room in my portfolio, in my account for maybe something even a little bigger on a second period over, given the fact that Dallas has cashed the second period over now in 13 straight games entering tonight, which, again, this is something that we'll be able to see play out in live real time tonight on our Patreon exclusive live betcast. Okay. When this game gets to that first intermission tonight, Alex, everyone will be able to see this that joins us tonight. We're going to be all over looking at what can we get now for this second period total right now. And be looking at various options with that. So keep an eye on that with the betcast tonight. Not to mention, the recipe is there for goals tonight. Dallas has really transformed. They're a team that is as good offensively as they've been in years, but they've taken a step back with their defensive game this year. There's no question about that. So it's been the perfect recipe for Dallas this year to be kind of more of an over team, and not just a little bit. That Dallas enters tonight 36-20 to the over. On the season, 56 games, 36 of them have gone over the total for the Dallas Stars this season. So they have been an over magnet. The Rangers, they've trended over lately because their scoring's picked up during this terrific 7-game win streak. 6 of the wins post All-Star break, the 6th spot in the thrilling comeback against the Islanders in the Stadium Series, 7 against Montreal, the 4 against Chicago. I mean, they're consistently getting you 3+. And now they face Scott Wedgwood in net, of course, because Ottinger started yesterday. So you would think there's a decent chance for the Rangers to contribute offensively. I think from a side perspective, this game's tricky because you got the Rangers coming off the huge comeback. I mean, I'm not laying it with the Rangers here off that huge comeback. I worry about this a little bit for them. That was just such an epic game, epic comeback. They're going nuts in the dressing room, Laviolette included. And now you're going to trust them laying -140 here after a game like that. It's not the easiest spot to trust them. But again, you got Dallas on the back-to-back with Wedgwood in net. Do you really want to trust them? There is good news, though, for Dallas from a personnel standpoint. Miro Heiskanen's back from his personal matter, and he's back in the lineup tonight for Dallas. That's significant. Duchesne was a late scratch yesterday. He's a game-time decision with the lower body injury. So, again, that's going to be a game-time call for him. Hakanpää still out, but it looks like Heiskanen back. Duchesne, game-time decision. If he doesn't go, we might see the NHL debut of Logan Stankoven tonight for the Dallas Stars. And this is a good 20-year-old kid. I remember watching him play for Canada in the World Juniors. Really good at that tournament he was. He's got offensive upside. He's the AHL's leading scorer. 57 points in 46 AHL games this year for Logan Stankoven. He's probably going to make his debut tonight if Duchesne's a no-go. So keep an eye on that. Maybe Stankoven props right away. We jump on it if he's in and Duchesne is out here in this game. So, like I said, I'm going to see how this game starts. I honestly lean more to Dallas +120 than the New York Rangers -140 in this game, but I don't love either side. More so over 1.5. Both teams to score first period, over 6.5, and more than anything, we'll just keep those lighter, and we'll pounce on second period over when the time arrives during our betcast tonight. Alex, what do you think here? Stars, Rangers.
So, yeah, we're obviously, like I said, talking about that second period puck line. Now, if you shop around, you can find certain things to make certain second period bets already. FanDuel, I got +118 on second period, both teams to score. So I'm going to grab that along with first period over 1.5 -122 and first period over both teams to score at +176. I already grabbed the 6 yesterday -$1.20 at MGM on the open. This is that time of year where you used to have to start looking at some overnight to grabbing certain things. If you see 6s where it should be a 6.5, you see 5.5 where it should be 6s, you have to just automatically go and play at least something on them before those things move. So that was my overplay yesterday. I grabbed that, I think, shortly after we went off the air on yesterday's program. So I'm on over 6 -$1.20. I have first period over -122. First period, both teams to score +176. And second period, both teams to score +118. All 4 of those plays and lines available at FanDuel.
And the second period, both teams to score correlates with that 13-0 over streak in the second period for the Dallas Stars. You want to watch an Ice Guys family and community all congregate together on the same bet tonight during the betcast? Tune in for the second period of Dallas and New York, because I'm sure the whole community is going to be on second period over in that game, riding that in some form, riding that 13-0 streak for Dallas to the second period over. What do you think here, Matt? Your Stars against the New York Rangers.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I think, as you alluded to, I think Dallas deserved the 2 points last night. I think they probably know that after the game. I mean, they know they had the chances to close it out and didn't. And with New York coming off the outdoor game, I kind of like Dallas here at plus 120. I'm obviously going to put a little bit on that pregame, in case they score a couple early and it swings. But overall, I'm on the game over at 6. I got in on it last night before it jumped to 6.5. I know some books will let you buy down to 6 at like minus 130. That's a great look. I mean, I still like it at 6.5. I just feel a little safer with the 6 in case it's a 4-2 game. And then I am on the first period over. I am going to be on the second period over. I'm going to do that parlay with Ottawa, Florida as well. That was put in the chat. I like that as well. And then you've got to lay some juice here, but Shesterkin has been so inconsistent. And I mean, not to say all 3 of those goals in the outdoor game were his fault, but like, come on, a couple of them were pretty soft. And you can get Dallas team total over 2.5. It's like minus 150. So you do have to lay some juice on it, but I think Dallas has no problem scoring 3 goals tonight. And then, you mentioned Duchesne and Stankonov's situation. I think what I may end up doing.
Come on, Matt. We got to get you to pronounce that properly. He's on your team, for crying out loud. Stankoven. There you go.
Stankoven. Sorry.
He's on your team, man.
I'm not good at reading. No, but Stan Coven. I'll never make that mistake again.
There you go.
I think I'm seeing he would jump in on that line with Sagan and Marchman. So what I may do, because obviously if they're inactive, it just like deletes the bet. You get your money back. I might put it on an anytime goal prop on both of them, and then whoever plays, I feel happy that I've got the bet in. So that's something to think about. But yeah, I mean, he's obviously having a great year in the AHL. Marchman and Sagan have been playing really well. So if you throw them in that group, I mean, why not? Obviously, there'll be a little chemistry difference. But I mean, those guys are setting up Duchesne every game. So and then obviously I'll be changing up, betting some live stuff on the game. That'll probably be one of the main screens I've got on tonight. So, but yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I happy Miro's back. I don't mind Wedgwood being in. I think he gives them a chance to win every time he plays. I wish Dallas was coming into this game a little healthier overall. But, it's that time of year. You're going to have guys injured. I know Hakanpää's got COVID. Lundqvist is in concussion protocol. So hopefully we see them back. But I think that third pairing is going to be a little tough for Dallas, but I don't think they'll get a ton of ice time now that they have Miro back. You've got 2 solid groups that can go. So, yeah.
Well, that's another thing, too, that probably is good for goals, is that the Stars were a little depleted on the blue line without Heiskanen yesterday. And even though he's back tonight, the minutes are going to pile up for Harley and the old man, Ryan Suter, and Esa Lindell, Hanley, and, of course, Derek Pouliot, who joined the blue line yesterday in the absence of Heiskanen. So that could be, that's a lot of minutes in 2 straight games in a row in as many days. So keep an eye on that for this game tonight with the Stars and the Rangers. By the way, as far as the props, I didn't mention as many as I wanted to in the last game, Ottawa, Florida. But yeah, the Kachucks, Giroux is on fire right now for Ottawa, can look in that direction. Bennett and Verhaeghe I like for Florida. And here's one, I'll throw a save prop at you. Florida in the last 4 home games, 3 of them, they've had 40 or more shots on goal. They are a shooting the puck machine on home ice, the Florida Panthers. So Korpisalo over saves in this game. We assume Korpisalo will be the goaltender for Ottawa. Korpisalo over saves is probably a good look tonight in that game. As far as this one goes, I'd be interested in Cooley again, even though he didn't score the other night for this New York Rangers team. Is VC going to stay on the top line? We assume so. There's probably value with him again, as long as that remains the same. Matt Rempe it was great to see, him fight in his first game. So he's back in the lineup on the fourth line. For Dallas, it looks like as of right now, they've got Stankoven on the second line with Sagan and Marchment. That's if Duchesne's a no-go. So I still think that's not a bad option. I'd still go to Wyatt Johnston, even though he's down to the third line now. I think definitely he is going to be someone that can make an impact here tonight once again. And how many times I've been on WJ props this year for Dallas? Tons. All right, next up, Islanders and Penguins. We've got Pittsburgh minus 130, home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. Islanders off just a gut-wrenching loss to the Rangers. How they lost that one's unbelievable, because they were the better team. They outplayed the Rangers for much of that game, and all that matters, though, is the 2 points. And they got into penalty trouble late in the third period. The Rangers' power play made them pay for it, and sure enough, it's a 6-5 overtime loss for the New York Rangers in the Stadium Series. But here's Pittsburgh taking a complete shit on Jaromir Jagr and his great night, his great day, his great weekend on Sunday, blowing a 1-0 lead to the LA Kings and losing 2-1 in regulation to the Kings, getting no points in that game. Absolutely awful loss, too, for Pittsburgh. Both teams off crushing losses. And this kind of feels like loser is really up against it as far as making the playoffs is concerned type of game. Like the loser of this game really is in some big-time trouble. They're already in tough, both the Islanders and the Penguins, to try to get back into the wild card mix. Whoever loses this game really is in tough. But this is one of those games where these are two teams I really don't trust, but give me the team that's at plus money and the team that probably I trust slightly more. And the coach right now, quite honestly, that I trust slightly more. And that's Patrick Waugh and the New York Islanders. So I'm going to probably sprinkle on the Islanders here, plus 110. I mean, Pittsburgh laying a price, no thank you. Don't want it. Not even maybe right now laying a price with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I am going to take the Islanders plus 110, but even more so, the chat's all over it. What I really like here is the draw. We're going back to Draw Island. We're going back to the Tylanders again here in this game. I could definitely see this one having overtime potential. Might be my strongest draw look on the slate here tonight. But definitely I agree with it. And Islanders now have gone to overtime in their last two games. You look at series history, we've had some close encounters between these two teams, including here in Pittsburgh. They went to overtime last year, these two teams. So, yeah, Islanders and the draw here for me in this one. Matt, what do you think here? Islanders, Penguins.
Yeah, I think that's a good placement. I don't love really anything pregame, but I'm all about going back to Tylander Nation. So I'll jump on the draw with that with you. I go back and forth, but I probably will take the over. It is a system play for me. Generally, there is another 5.5 on the card that I like a lot more than this one. But I think I'll probably jump on that. Or I may just, since it is betcast night, I may just hold off and try and get it at 5, even 4.5 if it's a slow start the first 10 minutes. So, yeah, probably throw a little sprinkle on the draw before the game just for fun. But, yeah, I don't really love anything as far as props or sides or even totals on this one. So, hopefully there's some good live action that we can get in on.
No doubt. But there are some props I like here. I think this total's tough. I could see it going over. I could see it staying under here with these two teams. I really don't have no opinion whatsoever on the total here in this game. It looks like we should see Sorokin and Nedeljkovic, by the way, in net for Pittsburgh tonight. Nedeljkovic for Pittsburgh, Sorokin for the Islanders. Of course, he's kind of hit or miss right now with Nedeljkovic of late. Yeah, that's going to be something I hope. There's part of me that hopes so that we can illustrate that, Alan, on the betcast tonight, that the Islanders are trailing by a goal or two late in the third period. So we can illustrate how you bet an Islanders live total in the third period when they're down in the game with like 7 or 6 minutes left in the third. That's when you bet it. Right, because that's right before the time Patrick Waugh would pull the goalie when he's down by a goal or two, because it usually doesn't wait past 5 minutes left in the third. So we'll show it if we can demonstrate that tonight on the betcast. And that's going to be a gold mine for us now that he's coaching again. Whenever the Islanders are down by a goal or two in the third period, you could bet the heck out of that live total with 6 minutes to go in the third. And here we go. Let the goals fly in. And he'll pull the goalie again down by 3. He's done that as well. So Patrick Waugh is going to be a great, great live third period total play to the over moving forward with like 7 or 6 minutes left in the third period. So we might maybe get the chance to illustrate that a little bit tonight on the betcast. As far as props go tonight in this game, there are two that stand. Well, Sidney Crosby, even though you don't get great prices, he's the only one doing a damn thing right now for Pittsburgh consistently. That being said, Rust, in the absence of Gensel, is up to the top line. So there is some value on Brian Rust tonight with Crosby and Raquel. Matthew Phillips on the second line. I think there's a little value there with Malkin and O'Connor. Riley Smith has had chances. Puck hasn't gone in, so I think he might be due for one. And then for the Islanders, Barzal, I think he's been great since the All-Star break. And Brock Nelson for the Islanders, he scorches Pittsburgh for some reason. He absolutely terrorizes the Pittsburgh Penguins, Brock Nelson, since he's been with the New York Islanders. And he got one of the goals against the Rangers, of course, in the outdoor game on Sunday. And you could get still Brock Nelson up to plus 210 on FanDuel. Not bargain bin price, but for someone that's a good goal scorer, that's done significant damage against the Penguins in the past, Brock Nelson at plus 210 is actually a pretty good price, all things considered. Alex is back. Alex, what do you think here, Islanders, Penguins?
Yeah, this is the game, one of two games where I like the draw the most. And obviously we've seen tighter games with this in previous history. Not so much. We've seen a couple of kind of blowout spots, but I think you look at these two teams, they're desperately needing points. Like, this is kind of almost feels like that loser leaves town kind of a scenario with these two clubs. But I think it's going to be a tough, hard-fought battle, and I definitely don't see teams taking chances if this one's tied close late. So give me the draw here. I grab plus 320 at Caesars.
Yeah, I mean, the Islanders, draw island, whatever you want to call it, but these draw bets with the Islanders, man, it's amazing. It's probably made up, believe it or not, like 6 to 8% of my profit in the NHL this year, just Islander draw bets. That's how good they have been throughout the course of the season. All right, Minnesota Wild, Winnipeg Jets. We've got Winnipeg minus 145, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. So I would much rather in a spot like this bet the superior team off a loss than the inferior team off a thrilling, crazy comeback win like Minnesota had. But I just don't know if I like the price enough here with Winnipeg minus 145, especially with Brossoit. And I don't want to throw shade on Brossoit. Brossoit's good. Brossoit's capable. But, I just don't know if I want it at this price here, minus 145 in this game. Marc-Andre Fleury's confirmed in net here for the Minnesota Wild. It's back-to-back for both teams, so there's really no scheduling advantage either way for both of these teams right now. So it's not a game I'm doing a whole lot with as far as pregame is concerned. Jets have beaten the Wild 3 straight times as well entering this matchup, including they won back-to-back versus Minnesota right at the end of last year, right before we went to 2024. These two teams played a home-and-home December 30th, 31st. Jets won both games, 4-2. And 3-2. So it'll be interesting to see if Minnesota is able to dole out some payback here and redemption for those two losses. We'll see how it goes here. It's actually a very, very, very rare side and total pass for me pregame here when it comes to the Wild and the Jets. Actually, the draw I could kind of make a case for here, but even a draw, I'm lukewarm on it here when it comes to Minnesota, Winnipeg. Alex, what do you think here? Wild, Jets.
Yeah, I totally understand you having a pass here with this, and this is one where I kind of want to see the pace of play. And that really kind of goes the same for Vancouver as well, too. When you have a game like that, win or lose, you kind of expect, the unexpected out of that next game. So this is a wait-and-see spot because we have the betcast and it being a bigger card. There's no reason to rush and do anything with this game. So it's a pass for now, but I certainly will be looking to add looks on during the betcast.
I mean, you could circle the same players for Minnesota if you're going to bet props for them right now. That's Zuccarello, that's Kaprizov, that's Eric Sinek. Those have been the guys carrying the load lately offensively for them. No question. Boldy And for Winnipeg, look, Sean Monahan's on a short-term heater right now, so hard to shy away from him. Velarde I like as well for props tonight for Winnipeg. Probably him and Nino Niederreiter too, Cuban, because I've seen him score against Minnesota before. Since he's been, Nashville, he scored many times against Minnesota. Since he's been with Winnipeg, same thing. So, yeah, Nino Niederreiter might be a nice little down the board shot for a goal prop to go along with Velarde and Monahan, who I also like tonight for Winnipeg. And like I said, for the Minnesota Wild, don't overthink it. Right now, it's Boldy, Zook, Eriksson Ek, and Kirill right now that are loading it up for them offensively. What do you think here, Maddie? Minnesota, Winnipeg.
Yeah, so this is the other game I was talking about. I actually got in last night at 5.5. I love it at 5.5. I mean, both coming off back-to-backs. No Hellebuck in net for Winnipeg. I like that spot, but as far as sides or team totals or first period overs, I don't really love anything out of the gate. So this will also be one that I'm focusing on live. But I am on that over 5.5. If you can get that in on your book, I definitely like that spot.
Absolutely. And you know what we also like? We like that we are up to 316 live viewers just a moment ago. So really great stuff. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, especially if you're joining us for the first time. We're here 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. Every single NHL game is covered all season long. Sides, totals, player props from a betting perspective right here on the Ice Guys show. So again, we appreciate everyone joining us here. Vancouver, Colorado. And by the way, it's, as I said, Fleury and Brossois, your matchup here. An all Quebecois matchup in net tonight in that game. All right, Vancouver and Colorado. We've got the Avs minus 145 home favorite, 6.5 the total, arguably the game of the night. No question about that in the NHL. How do the Canucks respond following what was a crazy shit show, wild, no pun intended, game yesterday afternoon against the Minnesota Wild? I mean, just absolute batshit crazy it was. Bonkers what we saw at XL Energy Center with the Canucks and the Wild yesterday. 10-7 Minnesota. Vancouver's penalty issues simply have to get reeled in because it has become a bigger and bigger problem for them of late. We'll see if they can do that here tonight. Here's the tricky part with this handicap. Normally, I'd like the Canucks off a loss. Now, this is a rare 2 losses in a row for them. They've still yet to lose, as Rich H says in the chat. They've still yet to lose 3 in a row this season. But they are on a back-to-back, tricky travel. The one thing that's good, though, for Vancouver, they played 1 p.m. Central yesterday afternoon in Minnesota, 2 p.m. Eastern. Now they're playing a night game tonight. So this is not the same detrimental, brutally tough back-to-back that normally it would be, because they go from an afternoon game to a night game rather than a night game to a night game on the back-to-back. So that does help Vancouver a little bit here going into this game. I mean, my goodness, if they make the defensive lapses and take the penalties that they did yesterday against Colorado, Colorado could put 10 goals on the board tonight if they're going to be that undisciplined and the penalty kill is going to struggle that much. Yes, the elevation, John, does hurt. There's no doubt. And thankfully, the saving grace is it's an afternoon to night turnaround, but then the thin air and the altitude. And we know Colorado's been rolling on home ice lately. LA, Washington, Arizona. I believe their home win streak is something like 6 or 7 games right now. But I'll tell you something very interesting. Vancouver has actually had some decent success here in Colorado. They've won 2 of the last 3 visits here. Last year, 4-3. The year before, 3-1. Now, early this season, they played in Colorado back in November. Colorado got the 5-2 win in that game. But Vancouver's been a thorn in Colorado's side at times here when they've taken the trip to Ball Arena. I think after that loss, you're going to see a great, strong, hard effort from Vancouver, but early especially. I'm taking them in the first period, Vancouver Canucks, in this game tonight. I don't know if I trust them and their legs necessarily in that elevated, high-altitude environment, those legs to keep going for 60 minutes against a team like Colorado. And as we know, if anyone knows this Colorado team at home, they get stronger as the game goes on at home. They have had maybe slow starts in the games at home, but the second period, they're better than they are in the first period. The third period, they're better than they are in the second period at home. And then it just becomes an issue. And that's really when they start to seize control of hockey games, Colorado, when they're at home. It's later in the game, particularly in the third period. So I like the first period angle on Vancouver. They come out strong early after that debacle in Minnesota yesterday. So I will be on a little Vancouver first period here in this one. I like first period over, both teams to score, the over 6.5. And I don't love the fact that the mindset for Vancouver could be we've got to tighten this thing up and under mentality because they gave up 10 yesterday. That's a little bit of a concern for me, a worry for me in this game with these overs. But I just don't know if they're going to keep Colorado off this board because Colorado's been lighting up the scoreboard, especially on home ice. 4 against Arizona, 5 against LA, 6 against Washington. I mean, the goals that they have popped in at Ball Arena this year, especially of late, no one's been able to slow them down. Even with Demko in net tonight on the back-to-back, Georgiev for Colorado, I'm not sure Vancouver can for the full 60 minutes. So I'm still going to be on those 3 bets. Same 3 bets I was on with Edmonton, Arizona tomorrow, and as well with the Stars and the Rangers game tonight. First period over in both teams, as well as the full game over, Canucks and Avs, as well as Canucks first period money line here. Alex, what do you think? Obviously, this game is intriguing. It goes without saying, Vancouver, Colorado.
Yeah, if yesterday's Canucks game had been a night game with this back-to-back, this would probably be the mother of all spots on Colorado money line because that would just be absolutely brutal. Less than 24 hours having that kind of a game and then going in altitude. But it still should be a tough spot. And like I said, I think if the legs give out on the Canucks, it'll be later in the contest. So this is a perfect game, once again, having for a betcast night. I'm staying away from everything as of now. I love first period over. That's probably the thing I'll be jumping in on at minus $1.30 or better. So I'm waiting just 1 or 2 minutes into the contest and just trying to grab a little bit better of a price with that number. But I got to see the pace first. And like you said, I talked about it at the beginning of the show, Canucks, their defense is run by Mike Yeo. And what we used to see with Mike Yeo head coach teams was that they have issues on defense. They clam up and all the offense goes completely out of the window, especially early in a game. So that is the big worry with them. We know that Colorado, the kind of team, they get 1 or 2 goals on you. They can lock down defensively too. And all of a sudden now everybody's skating around for cardio and it's a 2-0 or a 3-0 kind of a game. So I'm a little worried about that. Got to see what the pace of play is looking like early in the contest. So I'll be waiting live to grab a first period over and then move from there.
All right, good stuff. Matt, what do you think here? Vancouver, Colorado.
Yeah, I like a lot of goals here. I know Vancouver's coming off a 17-goal game, so that is worrisome. But I just don't see, even if they tighten things up, I don't see them in the long haul stopping Colorado. So the biggest play I like here is Colorado team total over 3.5. It's at minus 110. They've scored in bunches at Ball Arena, as you mentioned. So I like that. I like the first period over. It is totally fair to wait and try and get a little better odds since we will be watching it live because I'm seeing like minus 155 to 170 as far as first period overs go, which obviously you don't want to lay that kind of juice on the off chance it is a slow start for both teams. The other thing I may dabble with pregame is maybe Avalanche in regulation. As you mentioned, I think Vancouver does come out and push, but it is tough playing the altitude. You had a game yesterday that obviously went to shit. So I think Colorado takes care of this one. I don't see overtime in this game. But yeah, team total over for Colorado is probably my biggest pregame bet. And I may dabble on the other two as well, just a little bit.
You combine Colorado's home record, which I believe is close to 60%. And I can tell you, because I saw this just while I was looking into this game, researching it. Vancouver on the road this year, they've played 30 games, 20-10 to the over in 30 road games this year, the Vancouver Canucks. That's 67%. So that's a pretty strong track record away from home for the Vancouver Canucks. 20-10 to the over this season in 30 road games. So you've got a strong over team at home versus a strong over team on the road. And, it's combustible elements, you would think, for goals. I really think that first period, if I had to choose what I like the most, that both team, I just don't see how we don't see 1-1 in the first period with these two teams tonight. Like that plus 150 that's out there, for both teams to score in this game, first period. I think that's definitely plausible. I could see it 1-1 easily. I could see that with these two teams tonight, opening period.
If you're expecting up and down pace in this contest throughout, your best bet is to bet Colorado in some way of getting the first goal, first 5 minutes, first 10 minutes, just first goal outright, because that's what it's going to take. If Vancouver jumps out and gets a 1-0 lead early, then they're going to be even more pressured to tighten things up defensively in spite of what happened yesterday. So that's the thing I worry about. And like Nick said in the chat, yeah, they're not capable of parking the bus like that for a full 60 minutes. That's not what I'm talking about. But if they play that style long enough over a 10, 15-minute stretch early in the game, we're talking about all the numbers being shifted off to the point where now we're talking about, we might see a 4-2, a 4-1, a 3-1 kind of a game instead of 4-3, 5-3, 5-4. So that's the kind of thing. Those little gaps and moments early in a contest can make a big difference when you talk about the course of a full 60 minutes in that aspect as far as looking for prices and numbers.
Yep, no doubt. And like I say, that's good advice there for looking at this. And we'll be on during the BetCast tonight again. Patreon exclusive live BetCast, 7 p.m. Eastern time tonight. We'll be on for this game. Definitely this will be a good one to live bet, for sure. There's going to be some things we'll be able to take notice of while the game's going on. I do want to point out, too, with Georgiev, this guy hasn't been shutting it down lately either. He's given up 14 goals in his last 4 starts for the Colorado Avalanche. So this has not been the best, and they're running him into the ground. It's kind of like that right now with the Avs. They're running Georgiev into the ground. There's another goalie I'm thinking of yesterday that was in action, and I'm starting to think, man, they're running this guy into the ground too, and he's starting to falter a little bit. Who?
Hellebuck.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit too, but someone else too. I'm trying to remember who it was. But yeah, these goalies that, especially Georgiev, they're not used to this workload season in, season out. And, you're not playing great. You're tiring out. You're fatiguing right now. We're seeing it.
Tonight is game 57 for the Avalanche, and this will be the 47th appearance, 46th start for Georgiev.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely concerning. There's no question. And wearing him out and faltering a little bit because of the heavy workload. And again, this is not a guy that up till this season's played like this amount of workload, this number of games, 50-plus games like this. Not used to it. And as a result, you're not getting him fresh, and you're not getting him playing his best right now the later the season goes on. All right, Nashville and Vegas. We've got the Golden Knights minus 140, home favorites, 6 the total here in this one. It was a wonderful get-right spot for Vegas. I kept the faith. I had lost money with Vegas against Minnesota last week, against Carolina over the weekend. I said, I'm going back to the well with these bastards one more time, and against this San Jose team. And I think this is the day they, stop the skid and get back on track against a team that they're simply better than. And they did just that. We swept the board with that Vegas game yesterday against San Jose. Puck line in the first period, plus 145. First period team total over. Full game team total over. All of them cashing in for me in that Vegas win. 4-0, shutting out the San Jose Sharks. Really solid performance by Logan Thompson, who got the start yesterday. Obviously, this being back-to-back, we should see Aiden Hill in net. Aiden Hill's got to stop the bleeding all of a sudden. He's dropped 2 starts in a row against the Wild and the Hurricanes, so he'll be looking to get back in the win column here tonight against the Nashville Predators. UC Saros is confirmed, or not confirmed, but expected to be in net, but hasn't been confirmed just yet. Nashville bounced back from that absolute debacle. Dallas went in there and just drilled them, and Nashville responded by beating St. Louis 5-2 on Saturday over the weekend. This is a team right now that's kind of an over team right now, Nashville, because we talk about how Saros has been up and down. Talk about how this year they got a little more offense. Bringing in an Andrew Burnett means you play with a little more pace. He's willing to let his team play a little bit more up and down style. And again, their defense and their goaltending really hasn't been all that strong lately. Prior to the 5-2 win against St. Louis, where they finally buckled down, this Nashville team had given up 4+ goals in 6 straight games. They had allowed 4 more in 6 straight before the 5-2 win against St. Louis over the weekend. So I haven't bet anything yet. I think it's a tricky game. Nashville's got the rest advantage. Vegas is on the back-to-back, and Vegas laying at home all of a sudden the last couple games I backed them. They have not rewarded me. So I'm not sure I'm rushing to lay minus 140 with them. Maybe the team total. I mean, it's a very rich plus 135 if you like Vegas team total over 3.5, because Nashville's given up four or more in six of their last 7. And the 6th straight got upended by that St. Louis game where they only gave up 2. But that Vegas team total over 3.5 to me does look like it has some value. So maybe I sprinkle on that. Other than that, not a whole lot here. What do you think here, Alex? Nashville, Vegas.
Yeah, I just like the draw here. It's my second other draw play of the night. Plus 330 at FanDuel, plus 333 at Caesars, the best price available. But this sets up for another spot that I like with Nashville going to LA later this week. Of course, Nashville dominated against the Kings team, and it's been bad just all over the place now, certainly at home. But like I said, Vegas with Aiden Hill potentially going. Hill has struggled a little bit. So he's been susceptible to giving up some goals. So I can see some back and forth pace here. Definitely would look at first period over and full game over 6. But I want to wait and grab those in game. At these low numbers and prices, we should definitely be getting plus money with our 1.5. We could definitely be laying a price of 120 or better with a 5.5 if we just wait about 3 or 4 minutes. And Vegas is not, and Nashville for that matter, not used to starting off fast, but eventually the goals do come in late, sooner than later. So this is a game where 5-6 minutes in, we should be able to get the prices we want and the numbers we want on those early looks, and then just adjust from there. But I definitely like the draw of that pregame.
All right, good stuff there. All right, Matt, what about you? Nashville, Vegas.
Yeah, I had a very similar thought process as far as the over in the first period over, just because it's already not a bad number. I think you can get it at 5.5 pretty quickly into the game, and then obviously plus money on the first period over. So I'm going to wait on those as well. Once you mentioned it, Alex, I do kind of like the draw here, so I may throw a little sprinkle on that. We'll see if maybe we can get it live as well, but and then also, Ian, you mentioned the over 3.5 being plus money. Just given Nashville's recent games, I think that's good enough value that I'm probably going to throw a sprinkle on that as well. It's showing like plus 125, plus 135, some books. So I like Vegas team total over and the draw. And then I really like the first period over and game over, but going to wait and take them live on the show.
Yep, and as Chris Otto mentioned, 6-1 to the first period over for the Vegas Golden Knights, and so 6-1 to the first period over in their last 7 games for Vegas. So that first period over might be the better approach if you're going to look at the total here in this game. Yeah, as far as props go, it's Nick Waugh, it's Close Shave Barbashev for the Golden Knights. It's also probably Jonathan Marchessault. They've been good for the Golden Knights lately. Mason Morelli with his first NHL goal yesterday in the win against San Jose for the Vegas Golden Knights. They've got him right now only on the 4th line, but if you think lightning strikes twice for him, you can obviously get a very rich price on him to score a goal tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights in this game. For Nashville, you start to look at their lineup, and there's people on the chat that are thinking what I'm thinking. Obviously, Forsberg, O'Reilly, Nyquist, they've kind of slowed down, but Thomas Novak's chipped in a little bit lately. That's been good to see. And I'll go with a player tonight for Nashville that hasn't scored a goal in a very long time. You got to go all the way back to December 19. That's the last time he scored. But he has definitely shown signs of having chances, opportunities, playing on the second line with Sissons and Trennan for Nashville. And you look at the last few games, this guy since January 31st, the last 5 games, he's had 3, 2, 5, 5, and 2 shots on goal. So he's had multiple shots on goal performances in 5 straight games for Nashville. The puck's going to go in for him at some point. And it's great I finally bet this guy, because now I can do the jingle. Cody Glass repair, Cody Glass replace. Yes, that's right. Cody Glass for the Nashville Predators here in this game. I think he's going to score at some point. You keep firing the puck on net the way he has been doing for the Nashville Predators. He's going to eventually break through and find the back of the net. He had 2 5 shots on goal games back to back against New Jersey and Dallas. So, at some point, the puck's going to go in here for Cody Glass right here. So against his old team, too. He was in the Vegas organization previously, 100% Nick. So, yes, definitely interested in his props tonight in this game. All right, the final game on this Tuesday slate, Columbus Blue Jackets, Los Angeles Kings, LA minus 250 home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. I don't hate Columbus in some form in this game. I really don't. I mean, You look at this spot here for LA, and I know people are starting to get excited again. This got that Calgary feel to it when they came back from the road trip and they shit the bed at home. It's got this kind of feel to it for LA tonight, in my opinion. Yes, they are 4-1 now in their last 5 games since Jim Hiller took over behind the bench. The 4-0 win against Edmonton, blown out by Buffalo. We thought, what the hell happened? And they did respond with 3 consecutive road wins to end that trip at New Jersey, overtime win at Boston in comeback fashion, spoiling Jaromir Jagr night Sunday against Pittsburgh and winning that game 2-1. But you look at this spot. It's a Malinsky special, first of all, and we've talked about that all year. First game home off a long road trip of 4 games or more. And for LA, this was exactly a 4-game road trip. But it's not just the 4-game road trip and the tough spot. Look at the games they had to play in the short period of time. They had to play at Buffalo last Tuesday. They had to play at New Jersey last Thursday. They had to play at Boston Saturday, a back-to-back at Pittsburgh on Sunday. And now they're back home tonight for the first game, east to west travel, east time zone to Pacific time zone, with only that one day in between games. Not 2 or 3 days, 1 day in between your final game in Pittsburgh and coming back home tonight against Columbus to play at home on a Tuesday night. This is brutal, scheduling-wise, for the LA Kings. Absolutely brutal. And look, they are the better of these 2 teams. I get that. There's no question, but this is buyer beware for me. 100% on the LA Kings laying this kind of price, minus 250 in this spot tonight, in my opinion. Now, look, Columbus is Columbus. They're 4-6 their last 10 games. They've had a tough season. I know they won their last game, but it was only against San Jose 4-3. But there's opportunity here for them maybe to catch LA a little flat-footed here off that road trip. And it is worth noting, there's been some battles with the Blue Jackets and the Kings. Their last 5 meetings, Columbus won at home, or LA beat them in Columbus 4-3 in overtime. LA beat them 2-1 at home, barely. Columbus won a 6-5 overtime game. And then earlier this season in Columbus, it was a 4-3 win for the Kings in overtime. So Columbus has really played this team tough, in a majority of the recent head-to-head meetings. I'm going to definitely be on Columbus first period here. I think they're live to jump on LA coming off this road trip. I'm going to sprinkle a little smaller on the full game money line on Columbus just because I'm not totally sold on them outlasting the Kings for 60 minutes in this game. But I'm going to have a little Blue Jackets small underdog shot here. First period, full game, and a little on the draw too because of the series history that has been very, very heavy toward overtime and shootout between these 2 teams. I know the Kings are showing signs of life. Brilliant response to the Buffalo debacle. 3 straight road wins against pretty good teams, New Jersey, Boston, Pittsburgh. But this is a brutal spot, folks. You got that 4 road games from Tuesday to Sunday, and now you're back home with just 48 hours later and 1 day in between games when you go from the East Coast to the West Coast, Pittsburgh, LA travel. That's brutal, man. You try playing like that. Even when you're the better team, this is not going to be an easy game for the LA Kings tonight. I'm willing to bet that it isn't an easy game for them. Alex, what do you think here? Columbus, LA.
Yeah, you mentioned how brutal of a spot it is returning home for the LA Kings, and we're also talking about a Kings team that is 9-9-6 at home. So the home cooking hasn't been great for LA this season. On top of all of that, I was going to pass this game completely, but you kind of talked me into betting on this draw. Now, keep in mind, 4 of the last 7 meetings have gone past regulation. All 4 of those games were in Columbus. But if you look deeper back, we've seen 7 of the last 11 meetings go past regulation, and we've seen 8 of those be decided by 1 goal. So with that, we're getting anywhere between plus 355 to as high as plus 400 at FanDuel. This is definitely worthy of the draw season candidate. So put me down for the draw here.
Yeah. All right. Liking the draw here, Alex, in this one. Elvis Merzlikins and Cam Talbot, by the way, is your goaltending matchup in this game. For the most part now, Columbus has gotten a lot healthier. Both teams have, other than Fantilli. Of course, Fantilli is still out long term. But like I said, this is a dubious scheduling travel situation for LA. And, we'll see if they can overcome it. And like I said, this is all about price, too. If LA's laying $1.50 or $1.40 in this game, I'm not touching Columbus. But this is minus 250 on a team that's in a very, very vulnerable, tricky scheduling spot, in my opinion. Matt, what do you think here? Blue Jackets, Kings.
Yeah, don't really love anything here, at least pregame. I don't hate the first period over, honestly. And it's not the worst price, given that the game over is at 6.5. But I'll probably be a game time decision if I decide to bet that. We'll see how the first periods are trending in the earlier slots, and may jump on it later. But at this time, nothing really for me on this game.
All right, there you go. That is the Tuesday card. JT in our chat, pretty funny. They're saying, let me put it up on the screen here. Well, Ian, I'm cashing out of my parlay. I had the Kings in. Hope you're not talking me out of any. Hey, I don't win all the time, man. If you feel that strongly about the LA Kings, keep it. All I'm saying is I'm concerned. I'm not speaking for you or anybody else. I'm concerned about this spot for the LA Kings tonight against the Columbus Blue Jackets. They have that great of an end of the road trip, and then all of a sudden, Dubois against his old team, one of his old teams, Nick, with maybe we do. We get down with PLD. Yeah, you know me. Maybe tonight we will with that angle and play. Voronkov, Shinnikov, take your pick. Any of those Russians that play for Columbus, I think they're good player prop options right now. They've all played very well for them of late. And even the captain, Boone Jenner's offense is starting to come back to life too of late. Roslovic is up in the top 6 too. I'd like that. Yeah, but Boone Jenner, 4 goals in the last 3 games. So the captain for the Columbus Blue Jackets starting to heat up right now for them. So I think, Boone Jenner prop might be a good option as well. Kempe's starting to heat up for LA, so you can look in that direction there on the Kings side of it as well. All right, great stuff. We've got our betcast tonight. We really can't wait. Over 300 live viewers, by the way, watching the show right now. We appreciate it very much. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel because we're here 7 days a week for you live. Wouldn't it be nice if you got notified every time we're going live? That's what happens when you subscribe to the channel. So make sure you do that because we're here for you every single day during the NHL season. And again, our Patreon exclusive live betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you join us. It's going to be a hell of a fun night. Lots of great games, drinking during the betcast, very much a bar and a pub atmosphere for sure. Patreon exclusive betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. The only place to watch the betcast and join us on the stream during the betcast is by becoming an Ice Guys Patreon member for just $10 per month. We have our daily sides, totals, and player props posted there. Goalie charts, totals charts, bonus videos, bonus content, and of course, every Patreon exclusive live betcast on the Patreon site for members. So again, just $10 per month, and your subscription fee goes a long way to keeping this show going for many years to come. Patreon.com/IceGuys, just $10 per month, our Patreon exclusive live betcast tonight. And make sure you check out the Ice Guys store as well, iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yep, today is the last day for free standard shipping over at the Ice Guys store. We've got everything is stopped except for the Flex Fit hats. Those should be coming in later this week. But all the T-shirts, all of the winter hats, the sweatshirts, the mugs, the Lucky Rabbit. We saw our guy Goose grab one of those Lucky Rabbits in the stores. We've got those in stock as well. You can get all that today. Free standard shipping ends at midnight. That's at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
There you go. Free standard shipping. It expires tonight at midnight. So get on that before the end of the day at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special tonight and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great daily sponsor, Boston Hemp Inc. All right, check out the quality products at Boston Hemp Inc. And again, use the promo code IceGuys to get 20% off all orders at bostonhempinc.com. Great comment here. A new name in the chat here, Deanna Duncan. Somebody help me with an NHL lineup for FanDuel Fantasy, new to it, and I'm getting killed. I'll be honest, I don't play fantasy much at all. I honestly don't. Season long, DFS, anything. I bet player props, and your player prop handicapping goes a long way to helping you in fantasy and constructing teams and constructing lineups, because you're talking about shots and goals and assists and all the player prop thinking that you go through does help with that. But as far as constructing a team on a nightly basis, I honestly don't do it. And it's just because the betting takes up so much of the time and the focus for me.
Yeah, like I said, that might be the best advice I can give, would be looking at things that mostly Ian, because Ian's the player prop expert of his group, but things that he highlights and look at, and using things like left wing lock and daily face off to check with those lineups, looking for people who are moving up and down in the lineups, and then finding those price adjustments accordingly. That's about as good of advice as I can give you for those spots. Obviously, checking for injuries and things of that nature. But yeah, it's not really something of my expertise. Matt, do you do any daily fantasy stuff in hockey by chance?
No, to be honest, I really haven't. I remember in college, one of the like FanDuel type platforms was big, like for our hockey team, but we were doing like it was like multi-sports, and it would just be like 2 or 3 player props that you'd kind of build. We did that a little bit, but I think it was called like Streak for Cash or something, where if you got like 20 in a row, you got money. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy fantasy hockey because unlike fantasy football, I follow like the whole league much deeper than fantasy football, but it is like very time consuming. And I think you got to kind of pick, like, am I going to sports bet? Am I going to do fantasy? Am I going to have a life? Things like that. Cause you've got to say your lineup every day. And so, it gets daunting.
Yeah. It's just, there's not enough hours in the day. If you gave me a 48-hour day instead of a 24-hour day, I'd be getting involved with DFS stuff too. But there's just not enough hours in the day. And like I say, the betting focus, just your sides, totals, player props, and all that definitely, take up the majority of my time with that. So keep that in mind. But like I say, if you listen to this show and you hear, oh, I like this guy to score a goal, or this one to get an assist, or point props, or those are definitely things you can consider in your DFS team construction, because it's all based on that. To win at DFS, you need players to get hits, players to get goals, assists, points, shots on goal, etc., saves if you have a goalie on your DFS lineup. So all that kind of, I like Korpisalo a lot over saves tonight for Ottawa, because Florida just shoots the puck like crazy at home. So there you go. If you can put Jonas Korpisalo in your DFS lineup tonight, maybe for the Ottawa Senators. Now he also has to play well and shut the door, and he's been hot and cold this year. But yeah, that's definitely the kind of approach you can have as far as DFS is concerned. All right, our approach this season as far as bargain bin special of the night has been very good, and we've got a huge slate to choose from tonight for bargain bin special of the night. Alex, where are you going in the bargain bin tonight?
Well, I'm wearing the Dallas Stars jersey for a reason. I'm going with a Stars player, and we're going with a brand new proud papa who did not make the contest yesterday, but will be back in the lineup. Miro Heiskanen, got him plus 500 at DraftKings, plus 490 at Caesars. Like him to get a goal, and I like goals here from defensemen both ways. I think we're going to be seeing some screens, shots, deep deflections. So that's my shot. I'm going with Miro Heiskanen, bargain bin special of the night, plus 500 at DraftKings.
All right, there you go. Miro Heiskanen, Dallas Stars plus 500 for bargain bin special tonight. The old new daddy bump potentially here for Miro Heiskanen tonight for the Dallas Stars. Matt, what do you got for bargain bin?
Yeah, so the chat caught it, but I literally have that written down as my bargain bin for the exact same reason. New dad, but I'm gonna do. A little
Nick's
interesting
challenging you right now, Matt. I dare you to pick something not from the Stars game.
I could probably dig and do that if you want me to, but I have a backup plan.
Oh, no.
It's fine. We have had matching bargain bins and best bets before to the year, so you're not obligated to do it.
Yeah.
Roll with whatever you feel is your best bargain bin pick. So.
Yeah. So I obviously love the Miro bet, but what I'm going to do, and they're both plus 300. And I mentioned it earlier in the show, but I'm going to take Logan Stankoven and Matt Duchene, both anytime goal scorers. Only one of them is going to play, so your bet's going to void on the other end. But if Duchene's back in the lineup, I love for him to score tonight. if Stan Coven is in the lineup, why not get a goal on your first NHL game? So he's obviously having a hot start in the AHL. So I'll take both of those bets. They're both my bargain bin because only one of those will actually be a valid bet.
There you go. All right, okay. Dave in the chat. Yeah, Thomas Harley shots are indoor point. Value, you guys said Miro, but value on Harley's from New York
Local,
region, and of course that's where they're playing. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Let's go look
I kind of like
that
that
idea,
too,
Dave.
Yeah.
You're using your noodle on that one. That's pretty good, actually. Yeah, Thomas Harley, worth a look. All right, as far as for me, with the bargain bin special of the night for this slate, I mean, pretty good options everywhere tonight. Lots of different ones to choose from here on this slate. But I think when it's all said and done, I'm going to actually go off the grid a little bit here. And I really think that the price is good. Chances galore, second line role for this team. We're going to the Nashville Predators, and we're going to Cody Glass. Cody Glass repair, Cody Glass replace, plus 450 Cody Glass for the Nashville Predators, plus 450 at FanDuel. Like I said, the goal has not happened yet for him, but everything points to him eventually breaking through. When you have multiple 5 shots on goal performances, one of those pucks is going to go in the net, at some point, shooting the puck quite a bit. So Cody Glass plus 450 at FanDuel for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets to wrap up this monster edition of the show. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
It's a betcast night. It's a Tuesday, and we've got a Metro Division battle between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders. Give me the regulation draw plus 325 is the price I ended up grabbing. I bet online. This should be a tight, fun one. I think we're going to see lots of hitting and not too many goals. I think this one's going to coast past 60. So Isles and Pens regulation draw plus 325. That is my best bet for Tuesday.
There you go. Back to the Islanders and draw island. New York Islanders, Pittsburgh Penguins draw for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. Matt, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, so I'm not going to go to New York for the New York Rangers-Dallas game, despite Nick's probably guessing that I was going to take the first period over, game over in that game. I'm actually going to take the first period over in the Colorado-Vancouver game. There is a lot of juice, so you might want to bet it live if you're afraid to put a little money out there. But I think there's no way this doesn't hit. So that's my best bet of the night, Colorado-Vancouver, first period over.
All right, there it is, Vancouver, Colorado, first period over. Best bet for Matt Robinson here, minus 140 to minus 150 is what we're looking at that right now. So that's best bet there for Matt. My best bet here for this Tuesday card, there's a lot to choose from. Great slate overall. I am going to go with the oh man, this is interesting here. I'm trying to go between Devils team total over and that Vancouver Colorado. I'm going to go Vancouver Colorado over 6.5 minus 120. To me, it's just that Vancouver can talk all they want. They're going to have to try to tighten things up. Easier said than done on a back-to-back against a team that's been scoring goals for fun at home all season long. We have a trend toward overs with Vancouver on the road, Colorado at home. So we're going to go with it. Canucks, Avs, Vancouver, Colorado over 6.5 minus 120 for my best bet here for this Tuesday NHL card. A reminder, the Betcast is tonight. Patreon exclusive live Betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. We can't wait. We're looking forward to it. If you're a Patreon member, make sure you join us. And if you're not yet a Patreon member, you got 3 hours to sign up right now, $10 per month, 3 hours to get that done so you can be part of the Betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And again, should be a lot of fun and a great Tuesday night NHL card. So join us for that. And you can do so by signing up at patreon.com/iceguys for just $10 a month. We've got a great Wednesday show tomorrow. Carter Hutton rescheduled. He's supposed to be on earlier in the year, had to cancel last minute, but he's back with us tomorrow on the show to break down the Wednesday card, talk his career as well. Looking forward to that. So join us for that show tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith and Matt Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night, and we will enjoy the games and good luck. We will see you in just a few hours' time for the Patreon. exclusive live betcast, and again tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the Ice Guys.